Three, two, one. We're not even going to do an intro this week because you know what? It's not even set up in here. So who cares?
Intros are for suckers.
Pretend there's a countdown in front of you right now going 30, 29,
Just
28.
jumping right in.
As you can see,
we're not checking
a lot
the
of
temp of the water, John. We're just jumping right in.
jumping right in. Hopefully you can hear me. Put in the chat if you can hear us out there in Radio Land. Make sure our levels are okay. We're trying again the multi-stream. I should be live on Substack as well. So leave a comment there if you can hear us there. We appreciate it. As you can see, we're one man down. Chad died in a horrific clown accident. He was doing a dunk tank, and he wasn't tall enough for his head to be above the water, so he didn't make it out. So R.I.P. homie.
He's not even here to defend himself.
I'm kidding. I shouldn't joke about that kind of stuff. But no, Chad is alive, and unfortunately, well, he is just not able to attend with us tonight. So you're stuck with the old men trying to make technology work. Who even knows if we're even live on the internet right now? No one knows that.
We might just be talking to each other.
As it should be anyway, right?
Yep.
Keep them young.
I can't think of a better way to spend a Wednesday night, John.
Yeah, and I know we had a awesome streak last year, and then no one's judging us on it or anything. But I know this year we've been a little off kilter with what weeks we're going to go live, so we're trying to get back on a regular schedule. So we will try to.
Anybody who does this knows it's hard. It's tricky to do this, especially on a regular schedule. And the three of us trying to make sure that we're all on the same page, or not on the same page, but the same schedule. And it's tricky. So I think we're doing pretty good for the fact that there's three of us having to manage the time and all that stuff. I think we're doing okay.
And you know what? I appreciate you saying that, because anybody who says differently, I often find does not have any experience in this realm when they're like, oh, like I've seen some streamers who they're playing games, or they're, playing Magic the Gathering. They do 365-day streams. Oh, that's not a big deal. And it's like, sister, you ain't never tried this if you think that that's easy. Every day, no matter what, holiday, sick, weekend, you got to fire up and put on the show for the people of the internet is not easy.
No, it's not.
And I'll honestly, on that subject, that's sometimes the hardest for me. I've stopped. I used to do a lot of the live shows for Kickstarter, just get the word out there, hype people up.
Yeah.
But, not to sound cliche again, but after a certain age, it's just your energy level is just not there. And I'd rather not go on a show and kind of sit there like, oh, I wish I was sleeping, or I need to be doing something else. So I've even had a hard time just, going on other people's shows. Just that energy level just isn't there. The older you get, or when you got, as you see, mountains of boxes of comics and other shit going on, you're just that it's hard to get that, when you're 20, you can will yourself to do that 1 hour show or whatever. But when you're 45, you're like, boy, this is tough.
I found, John, that just in the last couple months, just kind of happenstance across people on other social media sites, and they're like, "Hey, do you ever do interviews?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do interviews all the time." And they're like, "Do you want to come on and do a show?" Like, "Sure. What's your show about?" And they're like, "Birds." I'm like, "Okay, I like birds." Or they're like, "Oh, it's about living in Hawaii." I'm like, "Well, I've never been to Hawaii, but I'll come talk about Hawaii." Great. So getting on and finding little weird avenues to be able to jump on, and never quite knowing who's going to see it or what's going to come of it. Maybe nothing, maybe everything. But to be able to do something like that has been kind of my goal, mantra, whatever, for the last couple of months. Of just let's find some weird, different avenues to take and just see what happens.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that too.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can bring the energy back, right? Doing something different, meeting different people. I definitely have always been a proponent of that. I tell people all the time, this might be depressing for you to hear, but this might be the best it gets, right? If the peak of our comics making career is hanging out together and making the show tonight, you got to be okay with that, right? You can't always be, if you're always looking for the next bigger thing, you're not going to enjoy the moments you have, the connections you make with people, the laughs you share, all that cliche sitcom-y stuff. I've found that you definitely got to slow down and enjoy that and just say,
I'm completely happy to sit here.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm completely happy to sit here and push your Kickstarter and hope that more people watch it or see it, and more people buy it, and more people give. because without you, without me, without us, what are we doing this for? Well, you know what? We're never going to reach the levels of, I should say never is a long time, but the levels of like DC, Marvel, Image. But I think the simple fact that we have in our careers seen so many people who walked into this business and said, we're going to put together a universe that rivals Marvel. And then 6 months later, they don't have one page drawn,
right?
And they don't have one page, they don't have one cover done. And then it kind of just peters out. So they spend all their time going, looking for like, hey, this is how we're all communicating on this site, and everybody make sure you chime in every day, so we all know that you're all really paying attention, and and then, but a book never comes out. I'm sure you've been in that situation as well, or seen that situation in this business. But the simple fact that we're not talking about it, we are talking about it, but we're also doing it. We're also putting out books on the regular is, just goes to show that it can be done, and you can do it, and you can have fun, and you can create, and you can tell stories that other people aren't telling because they're yours, and you can peddle your wares on Kickstarter, which is amazing, and get as many books into as many hands as you possibly can. It's nothing but positive.
And I think obviously, with you doing all of it, the art and everything, again, you're about to put out the 37th issue of your series, and you have multiple other. This is going to be the 10th issue of Drumsticks of Doom. It's probably around that many as you have, about my 30th book, something like that.
Yeah.
And people often tell me, oh, John, you always got so much going on. And I can't really explain what the difference is between those who stand at the threshold of doing, like you said, and never produce that page, and those that do. I enjoy it, and I think the main difference is that you're just, like a project manager. You see something through to the end is a skill that is hard to teach other people. I have other creator friends who, their first book, again, is just kind of sitting in limbo forever because they just can't take that step to say, it's good enough, I'm ready. Yeah. And maybe our standards are lower and we're just like, whatever.
Well, I think you touched on something really important there. Like, I think that one of the biggest problems is when people put out that first book, whether it's they're trying to do just a 5-pager for an anthology that they found, or it's a 1-issue, 22-page issue of whatever it is. You use the term good enough. For us, good enough means we know that it's never going to be perfection. So we tell the story, we make it as solid as we possibly could in the time that we get ourselves to be able to do it, and then we put it out. And I think that's really where that.
Yeah, even those who've put out some of the greatest works ever will sit there and go, oh, this wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, because that's the ultimate resource none of us can fight against, and that's time. And if you spend all your time creating, you'll never get it out there and never get that feeling of, okay, now I'm ready for the next one. And some of that, I think, is what you said at the start of this conversation, and that's planning too far ahead. You got to get through issue 1 before you get through issue 300. So you can't sit down and say, I'm going to do this better than Dave Sim when you haven't even taken that first step. It's good to plan ahead. It's great. People love that. But make that first thing first, and then let's see, make the 10th thing, and then we'll see how issue 100 is looking and issue 200 down the road.
I heard a thing, John, the other day, and I really do think it's super, super important. Is I think we're kind of cut from the same cloth here. I'm a bit of an overthinker. Would you categorize yourself as an overthinker?
Yeah, I would definitely fall in that category, I think.
I think there are a lot of people that are. And I heard a thing that I kind of connected it to creating comic books. That it really did. It was like 4 hours ago that I saw it, but I really connected with it. Is in a stupid thing scrolling through social media. Oh, this is how to be your best person, whatever it is, stupid stuff. But every once in a while you get a little gem, And one of the things was being an overthinker is it's to not be an overthinker. You have to trust yourself to be able to meet any challenge or meet any problem that is going to move forward, that you're overthinking about. Oh, what happens if this? What happens if that? What happens if I do this? What happens if they do this? What happens to that? But if you get to a point at this point at 50 years old, we mentioned how old we are, but at 50 years old, if I don't have the ability to be able to meet any problem head on and be able to solve the billions of problems I've already solved in my 50 years, then I'm doing something wrong. And I think it's the same thing with comic books, with creating. If you don't have that trust in yourself to know that even if maybe you've got a little block, even if maybe that scene didn't come out perfect, or maybe, like, what is this character going to say to really push this, push the scene forward or whatever it is. If you don't trust that, maybe it's not coming right now, but it will come when it's ready to come. It might be, an hour from now. You might wake up in the, at 4 o'clock in the morning, go, that's it, to Eureka. Or it may be, maybe 2 or 3 days down the line. Trust yourself to be able to take that next step eventually. But here's where I think you were talking about earlier. Have the ability to be able to have the B, C, and D things that you're doing. So if that one scene isn't quite coming out the way you want it to, you've got other things to do. You've got a cover to color. You've got, this script to write, or you've got, these pages to format, or you've got this social media thing to put on. So in the process of doing it, trust your abilities that you're going to be able to push forward, but also don't just stop. Find something else that pushes your love of comics and love of creative comics forward.
Absolutely. And I tell people that all the time. Some of it seems like it's chaotic, manic. I always have 4 or 5 projects in the air, but I enjoy being able to shift because there's going to be times. And I'll tell you right now, trying to finish the script for Drumsticks of Doom, trying to finalize the last and final pages for Dan to Draw has been harder because it's all I have to focus on right now, really. Yeah. And I've actually found myself writing other stories in between that may not come for a while, just to kind of, rather than sit there stuck staring at the, the cursor flashing on the screen.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Do other things, like you said, have other things within the project, whether that's setting up Kickstarter pages, flatting pages, coloring, lettering is a big thing for me, which gets the juices flowing. But it
put that energy somewhere else, and know this will cut. This will happen when I'm not paying attention to it.
Right, and be intentional with your time too, because yes, if you just say, I'm going to write every night between 9 and 10, and then you sit down to write and the writing's not there, well, what else can I do? Okay. Yeah. I'm going to do that Kickstarter video I hadn't gotten a chance to do, or I'm going to, comment on somebody's Substack or something, to keep your, yourself moving in that direction.
Yeah.
All good things. Time management. And that, I think that's really is it. It's just hard. Mm-hmm. And again, not something you can always explain to people. Maybe, you have a teaching background. Mm-hmm. Mine's social work. You've always got to be available to pivot on a dime. Okay, this person's having a crisis, or this person's parent is angry and wants to talk to you, whatever it is. Maybe that's why I was primed to work in the creative field. So my advice to you all is to work in crisis situations, and then it will help you create comics.
I think again you nailed it also, like to have a background in a career, or even if it's just like a job that you're doing to make money in your 20s, whatever, you're like, this is what I want to do forever. And I'm going to tell an example in a second, but social working, being a teacher, my wife is a counselor. She worked for Child Protective Services for many, many years, but even like being like a server in a restaurant, you have to make a billion decisions in a shift that are either going to make or break what it is you're doing, and how the experience is for those people who are giving you tips, how the experience is for you to be able to have a good night or a bad night, to be able to make sure the boss knows that you can handle your stuff, to be able to have a career that forces you to make decisions minute by minute sometimes. I think is really something. Like if you're, what's that thing? Was that Laverne and Shirley, where they've got the bottles going by and they're just like turning the bottles, and, like just a mindless job. Which, don't get me wrong, we need those jobs, but we need people to do those things. But to be able to have something that's maybe a little bit more mindless, I think sets people up to not use those creative juices as much as they possibly could.
I like it.
Yeah.
Something to think about, people. If you're having trouble getting your project going, that's what we're here to help everybody with, and talk through our issues live on the air. I'm kind of coming to the end of one creative journey here. This has been a book that I've been working on for, some part of the last decade, and we're going to launch it with 3 issues at once, which again, I wouldn't ever recommend, but I've done this enough to where I think I've got the audience to where they want to kind of buy into a subscription model. So that's something I definitely wouldn't recommend.
Yeah.
So we've got actually 7 different covers across 6 different 3 issues. 7 covers. The finale to Drumsticks of Doom. It's bittersweet. I actually started writing this comic because I was waning down. My band years were coming to an end, and I was looking for something creative to do. I had started writing comics, and I said, what would my music comic look like? And that's where this came from. And then ironically, I'm having trouble ending the comic. I had an idea where I wanted it to go, and I'm just not confident that I've stuck the landing. So what better thing to do at that time than to start a new band? So I started a new band. We're going to play our first show at the Comic Books and Music CBAM 4 in Lockport, Illinois.
Nice.
May 29th. A buddy of mine, we dusted off the old instruments and said we'd get back together, give it one last ride. And it's actually, it's helped a bit. It's kind of helped me remind me why, I love music and why I wanted to write the book about creating music. And so I thank my longtime friend Rich for taking that challenge with me. We started in November, so we basically had 6 months to throw together a band.
That's awesome.
By May. So if you want information on that, I'll be putting it out in the old Substack soon. But
John,
so it's actually being in a band now has actually helping me finish this project. Ironically.
Awesome. What's your song, John, that you wait for in your set list? So you're like, yes, finally we got to this song that you love playing every single time.
Well, I have been in several bands, including with my bandmate now, Rich. We've been in bands together since we were like 14. This is all new. So we're still kind of putting the finishing touches. So I can't say that I have that song for this band yet. Okay. I think we've got some jams in there, but he and I have made a lot of music together. So there's been a lot of those songs you're talking about in previous bands. We haven't necessarily brought him back to this. We are doing a sick cover of War Pigs by Black Sabbath. So
nice.
I look forward to that.
That's awesome. Are there originals in this also, or is it covers, or what are we doing?
We were trying to do all originals, and now we're getting to the point where it's close to the show and we don't really have a big enough set. We haven't finalized enough songs, so we're dusting off some covers too. So
holy smokes,
it'll mostly be originals.
Boy, you really are a glutton. You really are a glutton. Do you have any of this? Downloadable somewhere?
Not yet. We've done some demos. Are on SoundCloud. If you sneaky, you can find them. If you follow me on there. But we're gonna definitely record these songs after we play live and get them out there. I'm hoping at least will kind of again be kind of a bookend to Drumsticks of Doom.
Yeah, get this stuff, do some live stuff, and put it on the Cosmos.
I'll do it.
I love it. I'd love to hear it. I've been playing in band since I was 16 years old.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I haven't, but since I've been up in New York, I tried reaching out to a couple people and trying to find some things here and there, but nothing ever gelled together. When I was in Ohio, 2 or 3 bands here or there. Again, nothing that's really stuck. And then Florida, I was in a great band in Florida. We had, it was probably 20, 25 pieces, and we had horns, and we did like Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and we did, I'm trying to think some of the other bands we did, Brandy by Looking Glass. We did a whole bunch of stuff. Van Morrison. We did some really, and it was a great band.
I did not know that. What do you play?
I play guitar and I sing.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's not too shabby. Your guitar and singing also? What do you do?
I drums and backing vocals.
Drums, nice. Oh, Drumsticks of Doom. I should have put that. I should have those 2 and 2s together to make 22.
Yeah, I do some yelping in the background, Phil Collins style. So
nice, perfect.
Yeah, we're just a 2-piece actually, drums and bass.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, drums and bass.
Yeah.
Boy, that's awesome, man.
I'll let you check out some demos. Yeah,
definitely.
So I'm excited about it, and again, it's definitely kicked me back into gear and gotten those creative juices flowing. So
that's awesome.
Again, if you're stuck on that project, again, not everybody has the opportunity. I'm thankful. My mother, who lives with us, I joked with her, I moved out and she was finally done hearing loud music because she always would let us play, which I'm grateful for. Yeah. And she moves back in with us, and I started a band. I said I couldn't let you, retire without, having some more music waking you up all the time.
Mom, she loves it. She's like, yes, there's my boy playing a little Sabbath. Yeah. She's in her chair, be like, in the general grabbed on masses.
That's it. I got Black Sabbath Volume 4 from her, so she likes some Sabbath.
She knows. She knows. She's happy with it. She's glad to hear those bongos banging on them. Boom. Love it.
Yeah, and ironically, again, Black Sabbath is a huge theme of the book. I actually had never, that I can remember at least, covered a Black Sabbath song. Maybe we did Paranoid in one band,
That's
but
nice.
I had never. So it was nice to listen to some Bill Ward licks and try and do him justice.
So something I've always wanted to ask you, as a big rock and roll guy, and your comic is kind of wrapped around rock and roll. Is Black Sabbath your all-time favorite band, or what's your all-time favorite band?
My all-time favorite band is actually Primus. I have a couple that are kind of in that conversation. Talking Heads is another huge one.
Talking Heads, amazing.
There's a metal band called Macabre who I love a lot. There's quite a few, but it's always Primus who's just the band I go back to. They're just so unique. They have a huge influence on my music and taste and just life in general. They were just the most bizarre thing to hear when you were like 13, 14 years old, and you're like, yeah, they've just always kind of been around as one of my favorite bands.
I think they had the best like riffs and like the most unique riffs in rock and roll. I mean, the only one that's coming to my mind right now is Big Brown Beaver.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's the one that everybody knows, right? That's the only one I can think of right now.
My Name is Blood was another huge hit for them. And
yeah. But Talking Heads also. I think Talking Heads is a very underrated band. Let me tell you a quick story. So always been a lover of music. My parents listened to music growing up. Like people were always like, "How do you know all these songs?" I knew music. We just grew up with it, constantly listening. My dad had a stack of 8 tracks that we would stick into our big console record player, and we just sit there and listen. We just listen to the music. So I was at Buddy's house, and we were just flipping through music, whatever. And I always had a big stack of CDs with me. And I popped on, we kind of took turns, and I popped on Talking Heads, and She Was started playing. One of my favorite songs, Psycho Killer, She Was, all of them, love them. And he like starts, this guy was a really funny guy. He'd get grumpy really fast. He's like, "Meh, I don't like it." I'm like, "What? Well, why don't you like it?" He's like, "I just don't like talking." I'm like, "That's okay, no problem." But he got mad at me for playing Talking Heads, and every single time I hear Talking Heads now, I think of this guy and how mad he got simply for playing a band. But it was just funny. But Talking Heads, I've always loved it. I think another in the same realm, Devo, great band that had great riffs, great stuff, funny stuff also. Like they embraced the absurdity. You know what I mean?
Yes. And I love bands like that. And I obviously, I had great friends and an older brother who listened to a ton of music, who showed me a ton of music. And I was just always around these people who were just gravitated towards the absurdity. Yeah. So maybe that's part of it. But I just love those bands where like you could put 1,000 of the greatest musicians in the world and they could never come up with what Devo came up. They could never come up with They Might Be Giants. They could never come up with
They Might Be Giants.
Because there's something unique within that blend that they just are unique, and never often imitated, could never be duplicated. And then obviously Primus is like that,
Yeah, those are awesome bands. Those are bands that kind of get overlooked because it's, for lack of a better term, I guess, weird. Is that the right term to you? Like off the wall, weird. Thinking outside the box, using their instruments in a way that a lot of people don't, and talking about things that a lot of other bands, like how many times can you write a love song? Love a good love song. Don't get me wrong, but give me
a song about fishing.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, love it. Or think about even like this, like a kind of Devo inspired song. And I think we've talked about this guy before. Weird Al Yankovic, Dare to Be Stupid. Like taking that Devo sound and doing it in a way that only somebody like Weird Al could. I've heard Devo, the singer for Devo, say he took the core of the idea of what they were trying to get, and he's like he found it perfectly. And the guy's like, I'll always hate Weird Al for that. Because he did the thing that they were trying to really do in that one song, Dare to Be Stupid, that he's like, he did what we were trying to do, but he did it better and perfect. Like it's just a funny little interview. Love it.
Yep. And he's probably the only one who could capture the essence. But again, those bands, they just, those are always the ones that kind of ended up in and around. But Primus is definitely the top for me.
Can I ask you where did you first hear They Might Be Giants? Because I know exactly where I heard They Might Be Giants for the first time.
Tiny Toons on the cartoon,
Nice.
of course.
Heck
Did a lot for they might be Giants fans around.
Yeah, I went out. I'd say probably I was a little. Let's see. That had to be what 97, 98?
Maybe even
Something like
sooner.
that. Does that sound right?
Let's look it up.
But I can remember then going to the $2 cassette store, like used cassettes, and finding They Might Be Giants and buying that probably the week that Tiny Toons, MTV parody came onto TV.
It says around 1991. The show was on from 90 to 94, and Particle Man in Istanbul appeared with Plucky Duck and Hamilton J. Pig in February 1991.
91. Maybe I was a little too old for it, but I don't care. I was 91 when I was 16. So I was way too old for it, but I loved it still. I didn't care. Whatever. Don't judge me. Don't judge me, community.
They're just like Weird Al. They transcend. Actually, I'm going to see They Might Be Giants next month for the first time ever. Because I was definitely a late adopter. I heard the songs and I knew the hits for them, if you can consider those.
Yeah.
But didn't really get into them until in my 30s or so. And I was like, oh my God, they have a million amazing songs. Why was I not listening to them all the time?
Yeah.
So
have you ever heard the original version of Istanbul? I think 1960s.
No.
Very similar to They Might Be Giants, but They Might Be Giants got a little more like they turned it a little bit.
I did not actually know that.
Yeah, it's a cover, and it's a great the original, or at least the one that I know is the original. I would bet that the thing that I know is the original is also a cover. I don't know. I'll have to dig a little deeper into it, but
I never knew that.
Yeah, it's a good little original version of They Might Be Giants song.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
never knew that was a cover.
Yeah,
one of those rare instances, where it's sometimes the cover just does it justice.
It does.
But yeah, so music has kind of gotten me back into finishing some writing, and hopefully it'll inspire some more. But some other things, I try to keep the creative juices flowing. My daughter and I painted some custom pop vinyls for our
nice.
Only 2 will ever be available because
this is what we're looking at right here. Beautiful.
That's what we're looking at.
Very nice.
Yeah, she's always a good sport. She's been excited to be part of Part-Time Comics and help us out when we need her, and she's a great artist. So yeah, 12 years old, she painted one of these awesome. I did the other one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're just trying to do stuff like that too. Again, like you said, just keep different things you can that keep keeps the fun alive in the books, right? It can't all just be about type the script, letter the script, send it out to print. You got to do fun things along the way. So we got some custom Lego figures here as well as one of our characters in the book.
Nice.
We still got plenty of our good friend Argyle, his custom
beautiful
stuffed animal here. Bunch of stuff available, all the issues. And yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes. This is a big one for us. I've never done a 5-figure campaign, but I'm obviously funding 3 issues at once. So the goal is a lot higher. So I hope people are excited about it. We'll launch next week. We got glow in the dark drumsticks, part of the theme of the book.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's what we got going on. Oops. Trying to exit out of this. Oops. But yeah, again, we wanted to try to get back on a schedule. So I know, David, you were hoping to talk about as we wind down here. Maybe someday there'll be a Drumsticks to do reboot. 20 years from now, my daughter will reboot it when I'm long gone. But let's talk about things coming back from the dead that maybe sometimes shouldn't be brought back.
The reboots, right? So it's been in the news lately, and that Firefly is coming back as an animated series.
I have never seen Firefly.
Oh my gosh, John!
Everybody talks about it. It's one of those things that's so annoying at this point that I'm talking about bringing it back that I don't even want to take part in.
You want to see, and it's a quick watch because I'm not going to say that every single second of it is perfection, because of course it's not. But I think that it is, for the 13 episodes plus the movie that they have, the time that they have, it had such an impact on me as a creator, as a writer. And this was 2002, 2003, something like that. So I was an adult. You know what I mean? Like I was working as an adult, but I can remember seeing the first episode, and the network put them on air out of order, which makes no sense to me. These people have no forethought. But I can remember seeing that first episode and still, while not quite knowing what was going on, very excited about Space Cowboys. Very excited about it. So, and Joss Whedon, who has become under fire as of late, rightfully so for some of the things he said and done over the years of his career. And maybe some of the choices that he's made. That's none of my business. But so every time he had created something, Dollhouse, loved it. Angel, love it. Buffy, love it. You know what I mean? So to be able to have something where the fans have continued to push for 20 years.
It's got to be more than that, right?
Reboot is amazing.
Yeah, and I wonder, so again, this comes up often, right? Every 5 years, I feel like there's something. They've done a couple comic series that I heard are decent.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of my apprehension, is that I don't want to watch it and then enjoy it and then never have it, actually happen. Is it going to be a reboot, or is it going to be a continuation?
I think it's, from what I understand, it's going to be a continuation. So they're going to do, this takes place between the series and the movie. So there was a lot of space between the series and the movie, so they could run for 2 or 3 seasons, 4 seasons. They could really do whatever they want. I mean, it's an animated series, and it looks like it's going to be kind of the style of like the Marvel What If, which is okay. I understand that thought. I understand that decision. I don't mind that style, and I think it might work well with and the fact that, all the actors are 20 years older.
Right.
Animation
opportunity there.
Yeah, it just makes sense.
That's a way to continue it without. And again, I've heard, I think Greg Pak wrote the series for, was it Boom, I think?
Boom, yeah.
Yeah, finding a way to keep it alive for those who still enjoy it. But those are always tough, right? Like, I don't know why the first one I can think of is Willow. They did a series, which was actually pretty good. I was upset they pulled the plug. But it's always kind of awkward when you have like this original of its time piece, right? Because I think, from what I've seen of Firefly, it's, like you said, it was Josh Whedon at his prime and very Josh Whedon-y. And does that still hold up? And do we really need that? Or would it just be better to start over in that universe and let somebody else? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Because sometimes when they bring it back, like you said, everybody's looking a little older and they got to have some reason why they've been apart for 30 years or whatever. It can always be tough.
The same thing. I said the same thing with, speaking of another reboot, when Kevin Smith did the 2 seasons of He-Man, right? Like it's not going to be what I want it to be 100%. It's going to be a new thing, but in the same universe of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And I'll be honest with you, I loved what they did. Understand some of the reasons they made the decisions that they made, but I also understand some of the negative feedback that they got, because we know as creators, not everybody's going to love what you do, and who cares? Do the thing, make the thing. But the simple fact that now there's more He-Man. You know what I mean? That's what I care about. There's more He-Man. There are kids who are 5 years old now, who because of adults who won't let go of He-Man, like me, sitting and watching new He-Man and going, well, let's see where you want to see where it started, and watching the original run of the show. So the fact that there's going to be just new produced Firefly content, I think is pretty amazing.
I'm definitely excited for those who are excited. I try not to yuck other people's yum. I thought actually what you were going to say at first was Clerks. Because I love Clerks.
Yeah.
And I liked Clerks too. And I didn't watch the next one. At some point I was like, because I think you bring up because the fact that you went a different direction is kind of illustrating my point. He-Man is a character where the core of He-Man probably isn't that. I mean, some people will, say he's got to be Adam and he's got to be a blonde guy, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's the core of his character, like Scooby-Doo. You could reboot Scooby-Doo because that, it's a young kids solving mysteries with a dog who can talk.
Yeah.
But when you have it be the characters, like the characters from Firefly, again, even I felt this way about Star Wars. They should have left the old characters in the vault. right? Like
Yeah.
Tolkien said this: don't bring your old characters out just to torture them again after you've brought them through this, because that a lot about that is painful. Not just if it's written poorly, but it's just like, we've been down this road. I don't want to feel these anxieties again for these characters. Just bring new characters after a certain point.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll do that in Firefly. Maybe they'll hand it off, to another. Again, animated sounds cool. I definitely am a proponent. I think more stories should be told in animation. I think that's where a lot of the best stories are told.
Yeah.
And, that sounds like a cool way to kind of, meet in the middle, where it can be a new story, but you're not, because humans age, right? And we kind of get that sense. And then you have to kind of make that make sense within the story,
Yeah. It's, I think that, delving into something that's beloved as this is for the brown coats, the fans, whatever you would call it, that can be tricky. But if you've ever watched anything else that Nathan Fillion has done, he's in Rookie right now, which my wife and I don't miss an episode. It's an amazing show if you never watched it. Amazing is a strong word. It's a really good show. It's a really good show. But what was the other? Castle. We probably watched most of Castle also. Good show. Very like Murder, She Wrote-y, you know what I mean? Like the anthologies of a new murder every single da-da-da-da-da-da. So it got a little repetitive, but still, he's fun to watch. So to have him at the helm and him know that character as well as anybody, I think it's going to be positive.
I hope so, because again, it's annoying at this point how much we freaking heard about it. Just fucking do it or don't do it.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I never saw. There was a Clerks 3.
Yeah,
I never saw Clerks 3. I remember 2 was at with the Moose McDonald's restaurant,
McMovies or whatever.
Yeah, McMovies, whatever it is. Yeah, and I saw like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I think that for me, as I grew up. And this is going to sound funny because I just gave him kudos because I really liked the He-Man, but that's in that realm of like stay 12 years old situation. But I think that as Kevin Smith, as I grew up watching Kevin Smith, Clerks and Mallrats, loved him. Chasing Amy, loved it. I think that on some level, and this is not a making fun of Kevin Smith at all, but I think that as I grew, his movies didn't. Oh, that sounds really bad. But like the immaturity, do you know what I'm saying? Like it didn't.
I know exactly what you're saying.
It didn't evolve. You know what I mean? As it didn't.
Right. It's funny because I don't often read articles or stuff, from people who are producing things I like, but I do remember very specifically him saying, "Clerks was what I felt like in my 20s."
Yeah.
Clerks 2 at the time, he said, "This is what I feel like in my 40s."
Sure.
And then I assume Clerks 3 was for that reason too, as he's gotten older.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I didn't watch Clerks 3, but I can't say. But again, you're working with the same characters, so you want to have them feel the same. Yeah. And then it just feels kind of stuck in that time, which to me, again, I was at the exact right time for that. Late in high school, that movie came out. It was the greatest thing ever. Mm-hmm. The overwritten dialogue and the the goofy characters was perfect. I get and I respect it's his universe. He can go back to it as much as he wants. But there was something about it that kind of, this isn't for me anymore. Yeah.
I think he lost me a little bit, and I really like Dogma. Dogma was also really, really good. And I think he was still in that realm with Jay and Silent Bob, still in that realm of like the core of the characters from Clerks. I think when it was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, I think that having those two characters carry an entire movie would be very difficult to do. So, Kevin Smith had to use that Silent Bob character in a way that, helped propel the story forward. And with a character that doesn't speak, to be able to like mug the camera into start doing sign language stuff, like there was a sign on the back of the truck, it just kind of lost a little bit of the allure.
He went a little too far over the edge, and I got you. And again, I totally understand why he did that. He started off making movies independently, and he's at the height of his career then, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll pay you $50 million," and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll throw something together."
Yeah.
I don't blame him at all, but maybe a little too slapsticky. Which again, I think he had originally said that he came out and apologized for Mallrats and thought it was like a disaster. But I think that and Chasing Amy, like you said, Dogma are like the height of his view of the world and his movie making.
Yeah, I think
Mallrats hit too far.
Yeah, Mallrats hit a solid zeitgeist with mall culture and those characters, and be able to like have a real discussion about certain things, but in the guise of this is stupid. But being able to talk about the anxiety of being in your 20s, the that's trying to move forward with your life or your relationships or whatever they are, but also let's have a big fat guy swing across, and Manachronic or whatever they are, swing across dressed as Batman. So it's super silly.
Hartford, the Whale. They only beat Vancouver once. Love that part. Yeah, we definitely
And
watched those
Jason
way
Lee.
too many times. And again, Clerks is not necessarily a reboot, but again, kind of going back to your same character well, and we've had a lot of time in between, doesn't always work. But you want to talk about like reboots? I mean, technically, they just launched a new trailer yesterday for Spider-Man, which is technically a reboot within this reboot.
A reboot.
Just rebooted 3 movies ago.
Yeah.
That gets tough too, because again, when you're dealing with live action, you're trying to make it relevant as the characters get older, although Tom Holland doesn't look like he ages.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't watched I try not to watch too much going into movies anymore, and especially since the days of Spider-Man 3 and being excited and going in and being horribly disappointed. I didn't even see the Amazing Spider-Man sequels. It took me a while to kind of come back to the character. So you talk about that's probably my most glaring example of reboots and not wanting to really take part of them. So maybe that kind of taints my my perspective of anything that's trying to reboot.
Yeah, I think the Spider-Man 3 is one of those warnings about the suits getting too involved. Let creative people create. And trust them that they, especially somebody who's made millions and billions of dollars for Sam Raimi knows those characters. He knew what he wanted to do, and they were like, let's jam as many bad guys in as we possibly can. And I would say that what was the second Tom Holland one, where it was Doc Ock and it was Green Goblin and it was whichever one it was, I don't remember. I think that was kind of a statement of too many, they had a whole bunch of characters, and people were like, this is too many characters. I want a good guy and a bad guy and call it a day. And you can do it right to have that many characters in one. I think the Amazing Spider-Man 2, the second one, had way too many characters in it. But to be able to do it in a way that made sense for all the characters to be there and reasons but I think that was kind of like the conversation of, you can have a lot of characters, but when the suit starts saying, put this person in, like Mary Jane in the Spider-Man 3 did not need to be there.
Right.
Not Mary Jane. Gwen Stacy did not need to be there. It was a waste of a character. Regardless of how cute the girl is, you know what I mean? Or whatever the reasons it is, but she did not need to be. She disappears.
Right.
Halfway through the movie, because they're like, there's nothing for her to do. Why have her in there other than to break Peter and MJ up, or to have a jealous thing going on? But why use Mary Jane? Not Mary Jane. I keep saying Mary Jane. Why use Gwen Stacy, who is a beloved comic book character,
right?
That clearly I have feelings for.
Clearly. And again, the first 2 were so good. I mean, he did such a good job, and he was a big part of the superhero movies taking off. And I don't know why you would feel. And then again, you see, you don't know who else was involved after that, but then that puts the kibosh on his 4th movie that he wanted to do, makes them reboot the character, and then it's just an atrocious, by committee, whatever you want to say, movie making. And then Sony's been dead since, really. They haven't done anything good with those characters on their own. So I think it's clear they don't have any kind of vision for it. But that was, again, I'm growing up a huge Spider-Man fan, and then them rebooting it, 10 years in. And then now I do like the Tom Holland ones. I have watched them many times. I think they've done a great job. Yeah. And then again, I'm not really sure how I feel that what they did with the last one and people forgetting and the brand, a story arc that was mostly hated. They said, oh, let's do that. But they did a little better than the book, but
we'll find out. Yeah, but I think the 2 Spider-Man, the original Sam Raimi series, they kind of set themselves up to fail, because this was one of the few times where the second one, I felt, with Doc Octopus, was even better than the first one.
It is one of those rare examples,
Yeah.
and those do seem to happen sometimes in superhero sci-fi universes. But yeah, it's always up there in the top. It is one of the best superhero movies, if not best movies in general.
Yeah.
I did
Do we
not
wanna
love
keep
the
on
costume though. I will say that. I think the amazing costume was better of the
Oh,
three
yeah?
costumes. That's probably maybe the Tom Holland one is the best.
I like what they're doing with it, bringing it back a little bit more comic accurate, and it seems to look good from what I've seen so far. I just saw the trailer probably 2 hours ago for the first time on my phone, so I'm sitting here like trying to watch it.
Yeah.
But
I was
but I
trying not to watch it, and then people post like every still from it. I'm like, oh, I guess I better watch
I'll
it.
just watch it. Yeah, I'll just watch it. But I do like this series. I won't say that Tom Holland is my favorite Spider-Man. This is gonna seem funny, and again, I'm showing my age. But the old Spider-Man series from the 70s with the kid from Sound of Music, I really love that series. Was it good? No. but remembering or seeing that as a kid, seeing him climb up those walls as a kid, and to have the web come out of his thing, like, wow, look, it's really happening. It's really happening. Was something that I'll never forget as a young child, seeing Spider-Man in live action for the first time. Same thing with the Incredible Hulk and Daredevil and Thor and those series and movies that they did, the Trial of the Incredible Hulk and all that stuff. But really, I look back on that, and there were problems, of course, but I would say that suit, and even with the mesh eyes, and even with the gauntlets, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I still love that suit, and I still love that incarnation of that character.
Yeah, and I've said this before. CGI might be the worst thing to happen to like superhero movies because everything's got to be
Yeah.
overly rendered and cost $1 billion. When they
Yeah.
could, like you said, shoot it in 50 seconds by putting a
Yeah.
rope on his finger.
It's too crisp. It's
Because
too
of the high definition, everything looks too good. Like
Yeah.
that was the thing when they brought back all the characters in the last one. I think they
Mhm.
did a really good job as far as the story. I thought they did, justice to all the eras and bring
Yeah.
them together. But like you look at Tobey Maguire and he looks too real in high definition now. It's like Jesus, like not everything has to be that high def where I can see the
Yeah.
pores on his face.
Yeah.
The poor old guy.
I agree.
But yeah,
It's
maybe
allowed
they
to have
should,
some dirt on it.
especially for comic movies. Like here's one we can talk about reboots that have been painful.
Mm.
They've had 3 reboots already for a comic series that's not even 30 years old, and that's Hellboy.
Oh yeah.
A great first movie. I don't think I love Hellboy. I have a shelf you can see behind me, all Hellboy. I maybe seen the second one once.
Yeah.
Probably never sat down in one sitting. I loved the first one. I never saw the David Harbour one. I heard it was horrible. And I love this new one. The new one was really good for such a low budget movie. And I honestly, after seeing that, I feel like that's especially where independent characters, that's where they should work their magic. That movie was done on a $20 million budget. That's what they say. And people are like, again, like you were saying, oh, I love the ropes and seeing them, lo-fi, because the actor, the suit, was plastered on him. Like when he moves, you can kind of see the suit rubberize a little. Oh, and people were tearing it apart on the internet. Oh, it's so stupid. It's like, guys, not everything. First off, this is a giant red man from hell. Suspend a little disbelief that his suit bends a little. It doesn't take you out of the movie. Yeah, that's the problem. Not the zombie guy, churchgoer that he's talking to, the crooked man. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I thought that was where that should be an example for other movies. Like that's where you want it to be down to earth, gritty. Not everything has to again be, CGI and flying through space and everything like that. And you can do a great character driven story. And still make an awesome movie,
I think that's another great example of finding the right director. Isn't that the same guy that did like a bunch of creature stuff? I'm trying to remember a bunch of creature stuff. To be able to have a director who understands not human and can do it in a way that in a realistic way, practical makeup, practical effects, and to be able to, like you said, suspend disbelief for an hour and a half, 2-hour movie, whatever. Flaws, yes. Problems, yes. But to be able to create that whole universe through practical effects, I think takes more talent than any CGI thing that's ever been done. Not that CGI doesn't have its place. Of course it does.
Right.
And it's made some great stuff. But to be able to do it in real time, I think is really
think, and
shows where that craftsmanship comes through.
And I think that's why movies like Jurassic Park and Lord of the Rings stand the test of time, and it's going to be hard to reboot those because they balanced that. They came in at the right time where CGI was good enough, and they balanced the practical effects to perfection.
Yeah.
And I do think that that's again where more people should be. We should be braver in filmmaking and stay in that area. You know, how can we do it practically before we go to the next step? You know.
And the fun of that is, you know, as you watch it through the years, and especially at social media and people like eyeballing and freeze framing every other frame to find whatever, but to be able to find the little problems and how they problem solved these things. Like what's the scene where they're going into the kitchen, the velociraptors are going to the kitchen and they start like wheeling the velociraptor in, and you can see somebody's hand come in and hold the back of the velociraptor so it doesn't fall over as it's going through the thing. To me, that's the good stuff. Mm-hmm. That is like the bread and butter, the real practical things that you don't see in the first sitting of it, the first watching of it, because you're not paying attention to that. That's 10 years later, and you're like, is that a hand? Super fun, super fun to be able to see that kind of stuff, and that's what movie making is. You know what I mean? The oops.
And Sam Raimi's a good topic for that because obviously that was a huge part of his coming up and figuring. Evil Dead 2 was my favorite movie as a kid, and that again, you talk about reading the stories about how they made the fake blood and they had to go to the local shop and figure it out on their own. Like that's. I think more movies should be again stay in that realm and stay low budget and see what they can do with it.
Yeah, I mean,
especially these movies that are just when you can tell the script is not the best anyway. Take a shot at it.
But that looking at something like Evil Dead, whichever version you're talking about, because there were like 3 different versions of the same movie that they made. But the one where Ash goes into, he's looking for the Necronomicon, he goes into the, medieval times and all that kind of stuff. And
that's Army of Darkness,
The Army of Darkness, and he comes. I mean, just to have him standing there with a shotgun in his hand and a saw, as another hand, and yell things out like, "This is my boomstick." I mean, who cares about whether it is? This is the kind of schlock that's done well.
And again, so funny that the way this conversation is going, because that's another one where they talked about reboots or sequels forever.
Yeah.
Every year, I feel like it was in Fangoria every year. Yeah. And finally they did it. And it actually was worthy. They did it the right way. Again, they did it low budget. It was on Sci-Fi. Mm-hmm. It was very much focused on Ash being Ash and just being, I haven't changed in 20 years. I'm just a little fatter and I'm just as obnoxious. Yeah. And they gave some, likable characters around him that you were rooting for. And they managed to stretch it out over, multiple seasons. And I thought it worked better than if they had just done an Evil Dead 4 or Army of Darkness 2 and, gave us a 90-minute movie. So that's one that worked for me. Now, have I gone back and watched it 20 times? No. But again, I feel like they said, we know what this is. We're going to make each episode for this many dollars and we're going to figure it out. And it's going to be Bruce Campbell acting his ass off like, he does in everything and stealing every scene. And he's just amazing. And that was one where, again, like the Firefly, they came back to it and it probably was a little too late as far as the timeline, but they made it work.
Yeah. If a week doesn't go by that I don't say to my wife, that's just what they call pillow talk, baby. That's what they call and she always gives that.
Smart. Shop.
Why don't you shut up? Yeah. We can stick with, we're kind of running out of time here, but there was one more that I wanted to talk about that has had at least, 4 reboots in the last 50 years. And that is the tried and true
Shirt Tails.
Boy Scout himself, Superman.
Shirt Tails.
No. Superman, right? What did you think of the 1, 2, 3, 4 reboots? Which one is your favorite of Superman? And which one did you want to work but didn't?
I am very proud to tell you I have never watched a Superman movie. Not any of the old ones. Not any of them. Never? I don't want nothing to do with that guy. Get him out of my house. Wow, no, I was a an obnoxious hater when I was younger. It was all
Yeah.
Marvel just because that was the first comic I picked up.
Sure.
So I just never read Superman. And I did finally, as I got older, I read Absolute Superman and some of the evergreen titles of his.
Yeah.
And I do like the character, but I just now, especially after all this chaos, I just don't want anything to do with him. Like everybody argues about what he should be like this, he should be like that. He's a man who wears his underwear on the outside, and I don't really care about it.
Now, I completely understand that. I 100% understand that critique because as growing up, loved Max Fleischer cartoons, loved the animated series, loved it. Could not get enough of that. And you talk about Superman and He-Man, very much, the same dichotomy, same energy of those characters. But going through the debacle of the first 4 Superman. The first and the second one were great. The third and the fourth were ridiculous. Supergirl, and then having Superman Returns, and it not quite cutting the mustard, and then still fine movie. It was fine. But then having Henry Cavill, which wasn't really Superman to me, but I understood their process and understand why they went where they went. And then the new one here with the new guy that I can't remember his name. I think it was a great 21st century version of Superman that you're allowed to feel your feelings. You're allowed to not be sure. You're allowed to be the strongest man alive, but still not quite know how to move forward with things. These are all feelings, you know what I mean? It's a very 21st century vibe to have while he's still punching monsters and saying, wait, we don't need to kill it. We don't need to kill it. I'll punch it in the face, but we don't need to kill it. Very much the 21st century vibe that I think will help him move a little further into, with young kids in the 21st century. So that's really I've
definitely heard good things about it. Again, I know people are gonna, but again, he's one like He-Man, where that he, as a character, makes sense. You can put anybody in the suit and have them go through the same trials. Again, you want to do it a little differently and not make it the same. I get that's why they probably did that with Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
But there's certain things with him just don't work because he is the character. It doesn't matter that he's Clark Kent. He's the 8 or 10 tropes that fit his character.
Yeah.
That you have to kind of check those boxes to really make him feel right.
And it's funny because those tropes, people are like, oh, we've seen that a million times. But if you don't show them, people will yell and scream. There are people who are like, we don't want to see this again. And there are people like, you better show us that again. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, he's gonna be a tough one going forward because there's been so many iterations of him. He's been around so long too, so multiple generations have their different feelings. But I do feel like there is an essence to him, and when people get it right, everybody kind of goes, okay, yeah.
You can't get much better Superman than the Max Fleischer cartoons. That's the embodiment of that character, I think. And to
me, again, that's an example why he should stay in comics and animation.
Yeah,
I feel like him being overly cartoony works, almost, because of what the character embodies. I think it works better in that arena. I get, obviously, because everybody wants to do live action, more money, whatever. But and what I have seen of Superman is the DC cartoons, and I in the half a dozen or so I've seen him in, especially Lego Superman, the best Superman ever. They nail it every time.
Yeah.
So keep him in animation, DC, you're killing it.
Yeah.
I know I've said for years people always complain about DC Universe, but they're knocking it out of the park in the animated, so they must be doing something right.
Love it. Okay.
Lego Superman, you're my favorite Superman.
I don't think I've seen the Lego Superman, so I'm gonna have to check it out.
Totally worth it. Super funny. Cyborg is amazing. Superman amazing. Batman amazing.
You've talked me into it.
Definitely worth it.
I'm gonna watch this weekend.
I got some DVDs down here. I'll mail them to you.
DVDs.
If anybody still watches those things.
I don't know if I have a DVD player. I'm sure that I do.
I know I got a CD from a show the other day. I'm like, I don't have a CD drive. Oh, I have one in my van. I can go listen to it in the car. I
have a CD player out in my garage with all my CDs sitting there. So I'll when I'm doing piddling around the garage, I'll just pop open and just
I have my CDs here somewhere. It's actually my 11-year-old child who has a CD player and I don't. She's like, oh yeah,
nice.
I like CDs. I'm like, all right, we're bringing it back.
My daughter makes fun of me for my CDs, but she doesn't make fun of me for my vinyl. She's like, yeah
vinyl's cool, Dan.
Yeah, okay.
For some reason, that seems to be the The one that we can say is cool.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us. Just the two old men talking about stuff.
Yeah.
On another Wednesday, we'll try to get back in the swing of things.
Yeah.
But give us a sign off, David, as we sign off.
Since we stopped with Superman, the first thing that came to my mind was look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's the cosmos. That's not going to stick either, is it?
Oh, it's sticking.
Still, it's
If I
stuck.
could figure out how to end the stream, it'll stick.